What's up, guys? DJ Neeks here, and welcome to my review of Assassin's Creed the movie. Yes, I did go and see it, despite what you've probably heard many people negatively say about the movie. My dad and I were both interested in seeing it because we both have played all the games. So obviously, when you play all the games in a series and they make a movie on it, you're interested in seeing it. You know, plus Michael Fassbender was going to be starring in the movie. I mean, I was hearing about this movie quite some time ago, and I got excited about it. So I can almost, after seeing the movie and after hearing all the stuff people are saying about it, I almost felt compelled to make this review, to give my 2 cents on it, because the thing is, guys, and by the way, what you're going to be seeing is me playing Assassin's Creed 2 from the newly released Ezio collection for enhanced for the PlayStation 4. I mean, obviously, you guys know I've already done a playthrough of this, and now that I have this collection, soon my playthrough of Assassin's Creed Revelations will also start soon, because seeing this movie did get me back in the mood to play some more Assassin's Creed. But obviously, playing 2 in Brotherhood on this would be just for my own personal enjoyment. So I figured that, And some people complained about how this remaster or enhancement looks on this compared to the others, or compared to the previous generation. To me, it doesn't look that bad. It doesn't look that weird. They showed a side-by-side thing, and I don't think it looks bad at all. But anyway, the movie. The movie. So here's the thing, guys. Do I think what some of the people are saying is, like, legit, or that it's, like, warranted? Yeah, but do I think it's as bad as some people are saying? Because I've heard some people say it's complete garbage, it's trash, it's an absolutely awful movie. I don't agree. I mean, does it have its flaws? Absolutely, and I agree with some of those flaws they were pointing out. But the movie is not that bad. It's not absolutely. When you think about bad video game movies, I mean, you can think of some of the worst ever. You can think of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the second one. The first one, a lot of people liked. The second one, no one likes. That was absolutely atrocious. You think of Doom, which essentially had nothing to do with the games. I mean, I haven't actually seen it, but I've heard that's what some people have said. There, it's absolutely awful. It's nothing at all like the games. Can you imagine if they made a movie based on the remake of Doom compared to what we got before with Dwayne Johnson? Yeah, that would be quite interesting. But the movie Assassin's Creed is not that level so bad. Okay, it's not Mortal Kombat Annihilation bad. It's kind of, I mean, the thing is, when it comes to this movie, this lore that we know from the games here, like this here, it decides, as usual Hollywood does with licenses that have established lore that we know and are familiar with. They decide we're going to take our own liberty with it and try to make it our own. And that's essentially what they kind of do with some of the things in this one. The movie starts off, and the first couple minutes are great because it's very accurate to what you would expect. It's the ceremony inducting Michael Fassbender's ancestor into the Creed, and it's him saying the vow, what he'd be willing to do and sacrifice in order to stop the Templars from getting the Apple of Eden. They have the ceremony where they cut off the finger so he can use his assassin blade. It's that scene was good, and I was like, okay, here we go. And then from there, the movie kind of starts to go in the direction that many people dislike. Oh, it's R2. I think it used to be R1, was it? No, maybe it is. It was always R2. It's been a while since I played this, so I kind of forgot. And we just, they decide we're going to show more of the present day stuff than the assassin time period stuff, because we start off with a flashback to explain something from Michael Fassbender's characters. And by the way, it's not Desmond. Yeah, even though the early report said that he was going to play Desmond, he ends up not playing Desmond. He ends up playing some guy named Cal. They decide to use characters we've never heard or seen before in the series. And you can kind of tell, okay, that's when things are starting to go bad in terms of the direction they're going with the story and the such and of the movie. By using characters we've never heard of before, never seen before, that's when you can tell, okay, this is not going so well. When they were already telling us it was going to be Desmond and they were going to be using stuff from the games. Now we're hearing more and more stuff that they're saying they're not going to be using stuff from the games. And yeah, it gets weird at first. Like, his character apparently did things that warranted him getting the death penalty, and so he's gonna be, put to death in the, execution way, with the poison such, right? Well, apparently they do that, and then all of a sudden he wakes up and it's like, hi, we're the Templars, we're here to help you. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're not even gonna explain how you somehow brought him back to life, or did you rig the poison, or you're not gonna explain that at all? Nope, not at all. It was something I was like, can you please explain this? And they don't even bother. So yeah, and they decide that they're going to be, yeah, I mean, I don't remember her name, the actress's name, but basically the Templars took him so they can use his memories, and we get to see them put him in the Animus. Oh, and by the way, it's not the Animus we're used to. It's not like it is like the massage table bed thing that we lay on and, like we're entering the Matrix or something. No, not at all. Instead, it's like GLaDOS from Portal. It's like a giant claw straps around his waist, and it's going to have him mimic everything his ancestor does. It's kind of like if you ever see G Gundam. You know how in G Gundam they put this, he goes into the cockpit and it puts on this suit so that every movement he makes, the Gundam mimics his movement. It's kind of like that. That's what it kind of reminded me of. And it's a little weird. I mean, it's a little cool, but it's also kind of, at times it doesn't make sense, because you'll see him do moves, the assassin do moves, and then you'll go, wait a minute, and then they turn away from, because sometimes they go back and forth between what he's doing in real time and what he's doing in the ancient time, and it kind of gets a little weird because it'll go back and forth to show them, and then at times it won't for certain movements, like when he rolls and you go, wait a minute, well, can he do that in present day? No, because that would just that would kind of mess up the claw thing that he's got. The claw, that's pretty much what it is. The claw. And it gets, this is where some people I've heard complain, is the way they've shot these scenes, going constantly back and forth between present day and past time. And by the way, the time period they use for this is not any of the time periods that we're used to in the games. We've seen the Crusades, we've seen the Renaissance. They decide to use the Spanish Inquisition, and we hardly see anything related to the Spanish Inquisition at all in this movie. Basically, they're in Spain, and that's pretty much all they're utilizing here. But again, the majority of the movie is in the present day. They spend more time in the present day with Cal receiving exposition from the Templar people about the war between the Assassins and the Templars and the Apple of Eden. They spend more time doing that than they do showing the past time period and the ancestor assassin. And that's where it gets kind of like, becomes kind of a downer. I mean, I'm somewhat okay with them explaining things, even though I already know what's going on. But for me, it's more so wanting to see, how are they spinning this? How accurate are they going to keep this? Or are they going to completely change every bit of the lore in their explanation here? So Yeah, I mean, some of the, like, when it comes to the war between the assassins and the Templars, they get that pretty accurate. It's just some of the other stuff. I mean, that that it can just be, I can take a bit of an issue with. I will say it's cool that um oh gosh, what's his name? Uh Gosh, I'm probably gonna have to pull this up just to remind myself. I'm actually having a bit of a brain fart on his name. The actor who played the head Templar, who also did the voice of Scar. Oh gosh, I'm actually blanking on his name right now. I cannot do this right now. All right, I'm gonna look up the cast in order to remind myself what his name is because it's driving me insane and I cannot blank on his name here. Uh, Jeremy Irons, that's who it was. Yes, Jeremy Irons. And, Marion Cotillard. Yeah, that's why I can never remember her name. But Jeremy Irons, he does fine. What I thought was cool was, he's is him being a part of this movie because there was a series they actually did on Showtime called The Borgias. It was a series they did. It was all about the Borgia family, which was pretty cool in terms of the lore. They're exploring like the historical perspective of what the Borgia family did back in the day and what what history says they did and something like that. It's a very mature series also, by the way. But what's cool is that Jeremy Irons actually played Rodrigo Borgia, the Pope, in that show. So I thought that was kind of a cool little tie-in that you have him playing Rodrigo Borgia in that show, and then you have him playing like the head of Abstergo, like one of the heads of the Templars in this movie. So I thought that was a really cool connection that they utilized for this movie. But I mean, in terms of how they use these characters and how it goes, I mean, it just kind of it becomes a little disappointing. But because of how you almost find yourself going, can we go back to the time period and see more assassin action? Like what we're used to. The thing is, we're used to the majority of our game. See, here in this game, I'm not playing the majority of my time as Desmond. I'm not. In this game, I play a very minor portion of this game as Desmond, and we're in the present day. Just to get cool extra story stuff, get to know these characters. But the majority of my time is going to be in that Animus, and that's the Animus right there. Not this claw thing. But the majority of my time is going to be in that time period, in this case, the Renaissance, as Ezio Auditore, and I guarantee you, if they had utilized Ezio, it would have been, I think, a much more enjoyable movie, because Ezio is such a wonderful character. He's my favorite assassin. He's many people's favorite assassin, and with good reason. The guy is incredibly charismatic. He's charming. He's a ladies' man. He can be hilarious at times. He's an absolutely fantastic character, and one of the reasons why we absolutely love the character of Ezio. And I just think if they had been able to there's nothing wrong with adapting the story and lore of the game. You don't have to put your own spin or take on it. Just use what they've already established as your lore, and you're fine. But no, they feel they have to do their own creative take on it because they think they can either do it better or they want to separate themselves. It's so stupid. It's ridiculous. You have established stuff that you can use, and I'm sure the people at Ubisoft wanted them to use it or would have encouraged them to use it. But no, they have to do their own take on it, their own thing. And it's just, it just angers me at times. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of these video game movies at times can be very poor. Let me give you an example of one that decided not to go that route. It was a movie, I guess now it's 2017. Happy New Year, everybody. So I guess I'll say last year. Warcraft. Warcraft did not take this approach. Warcraft didn't say, we're going to take the time to explain stuff. Warcraft was made for the fans of the series. So they said, we're not going to explain anything. We're just going to go right into it. And because of that, many of us who already know what's going on and know the lore and all that stuff, we walked out of that movie going, that was pretty good. It was everybody else who are not familiar with that they were like, this movie is weird, it's not good. But the rest of us thought it was really good. Which goes to show, if you make something for your fan base, the people who actually support the product for the longest period of time, it's going to be a better product. You could say right now, Warcraft is the best video game movie that has ever been made because it at least made a movie that was for the fans. And what's more, it had stuff that, it didn't bother making it for a more general audience. This movie is, for one thing, this movie's PG-13. And all the games are rated M for mature. And you can tell they're holding back from having this movie go to rated R with any, oh, God forbid, bloody violence. There's a little bit of blood, a teensy bit of blood, but they can't have too much, otherwise it'll be rated R, and they won't be able to get little kids into the theater, even though the kids can't actually buy and play the games because they're not old enough. If they had just... It felt like they were trying to hold stuff back. They were trying to be very safe. And they want to just have an entry to bring in a whole new audience who know absolutely nothing about the games at all. They didn't make a movie for the fan base who already know the lore and everything, know what's going on. They wanted to make it for a more general audience, to bring in a new audience, and thus it's not as good of a movie as it could have been, as opposed to Warcraft, which took the approach that we're going to make something for the fans. We're not going to make something for a more general audience to ring them in. We're going to make something that our fan base already knows and they already support, and it's something that we know they will enjoy. And thus, many of us really liked that movie because it was more so for the fans and didn't take the time to explain things and bring in a new audience. And it just goes to show that if these movies would take that approach, it would actually be better. If the people behind Assassin's Creed had actually decided we're going to make something for the fans, I guarantee you it would have been much better off. Now, hold on here. I want to see if this is like the infamous shot they kept showing to compare this new gen collection with the other one. Now, see, I don't see what they saw. It looks completely fine to me. We're not seeing that character whose looks was weird, or how they looked was weird. So, but here's the thing, guys. The way they, I've obviously been probably saying a lot of negative stuff and ranting a bit. That's only because I really like the series and I really wanted it to do well. And because I saw Warcraft do well, and I wanted this to do as well as Warcraft. But it just showed me the different approaches. It makes a huge difference. Oh, wait, hold on. Huh. Okay, so I think they changed the controls for this. It used to be L1 and R1 for lock on and block. Now it's L2 and R2. This is a little not too fond when they decide to do this for games. When they decide to change the already established controls from the previous version. But anyway, the approach you take with these kinds of movies and their license and their lore makes a huge difference. And I just want it to do so well, and I was not happy that they said, no, we're not going to follow or make something for the fan base. We're going to make something to bring in a more new audience. You take that approach, it's not going to do well. But now let me at least tell you something else I did like about this movie. Despite what some people say about how they shot the action scenes in this, when they actually have action scenes, are pretty awesome. The stunt work in this movie is fantastic. The guys who did the stunt work are absolutely incredible. They did such an incredible job for this movie. You'll see some really cool action scenes. It can be, the way they shoot them can be a little weird, but oh, yeah, that's right. Grab and headbutt and knee and punch. Yeah, there we go. Now, it's coming back to me. All right, there we go. Counter. There we go. knee. Boom. There we go. Oh, that hurt. But anyway, I mean that those were some of the more entertaining moments in the movie. But unfortunately, there are just not enough of those, and I just it really that I can understand why some people thought this movie was boring because when the action scenes are going, they can be very good and entertaining, but there are not enough of them. They take more time to do exposition and tell you stuff as opposed to getting to the fun action that the series can be known for. And it just can get disappointing in that regard. But do I think the movie is as bad as everyone is saying? No, it's not garbage. It's not as bad as some of the other worse video game movies that are out there. To me, it's more... It's some people were saying it's like a 2 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10. No, it's not that bad. I would say it's more like a 5 out of 10, maybe even as high as a 6, but no higher than that. At best, I think it would be a 5. Because there's just too many flaws in it to warrant a higher score. But it's not as absolutely awful. There are some really cool moments though. Like the ending is kind of cool. Like how he kind of gets to see some of the ancestors, and they kind of help him come to terms with joining the assassins, and in that regard, it can be very good, and I can enjoy that. But unfortunately, there's just not enough of that. They do bait that there's going to be sequels, a sequel or maybe even more sequels. Who knows? If they do, now I've heard that if they do, they're going to go farther away from the games, which I think is a huge mistake. And if that's true, sadly, this could end up being a series similar to Transformers, where they have just now kind of butchered the product, where now the movies are just kind of unwatchable for those of us who are actual fans of Transformers. But that's more so because of the way Michael Bay likes to shoot his movies. But it's hard for me. You can tell I'm struggling because I wanted to be so good, and it ended up being disappointing. Where it's a mixed bag for me. It's such a mixed bag, and I don't like having the movies I want to do really well be a mixed bag. Could you imagine if Rogue One had been a mixed bag? I would have just been irate. But anyway, I still say at least go check it out once. I don't think it's as bad as some people are saying. I don't think it's garbage. I think that for their first take on this series as a movie, it's not awful. It's not great. It's not. It's okay. It's average. It's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's a little something wrong with that. Only because of course, if it's something you really enjoy and really want to do well, and they don't do it as well as you thought they could have taken a different approach. They could have done some things different and been able to make it even better, but they don't take that approach, and thus it's not as good as it could have been. So that's my take on the Assassin's Creed movie. It's all right. It's not garbage. I recommend going to see it just once. Maybe see a matinee. I know some people don't want to pay the full price of a movie ticket to go see a movie they think is bad, but I would say if you can maybe just go see it for a matinee or something. I'm sure you can grab a ticket because obviously it's not selling out. But if you're familiar with the series, go check it out. But it's just unfortunate that it could have been so much better. And it could have been so much better. And they didn't really incorporate things that you think to yourself, man, if they had just done this and this. But unfortunately, the approach they took was just wrong, and thus the movie is not nearly as good as it could have been. So, I mean, what I am hoping, and unfortunately, this collection actually has the movies. I gotta remember, these controls are gonna take a little getting used to. the there's actually a short there's a couple of short movies in this collection which are really good. One is called Assassin's Creed Lineage, which is kind of a prequel to this game where it shows his father actually being an assassin. And then when you see and then there's another one which is an epilogue, which is called Assassin's Creed Embers, which shows Ezio as an older man. He has settled down. He's living his old the older years of his life now, just kind of in peace with his family, just kind of waiting for old age to take him. And it's a nice wrap up to Ezio's story. So, but I'll probably talk more about that when I do my playthrough of Assassin's Creed Revelations. So be sure to stay tuned for that. You guys can, of course, always check out my playthroughs of the original Assassin's Creed game, as well as this one I did, Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. And obviously, I'll once I get back into a role, I'll be able to do the other Assassin's Creed games as well, including Black Flag, Unity, and Syndicate. Although some people say don't play Unity, because of how bad it was. But I kind of want to see how it is now after the horrible launch it had. So anyway, that's my take on Assassin's Creed the movie. Not as bad as everyone is saying. It's all right. Feel free to check it out at some point. If you don't want to check it out in the theaters and pay a full movie ticket price, then maybe just rent it when it goes, on demand, or, if you want to just wait until it goes on TV or something. I mean, after all, it's PG-13. It's not like we're going to have to wait a long time for them to put it on TV. So I definitely recommend at least checking it out at least once, because it's not as bad, or at least I think it's not as bad as some people say. It's average, but, Anyway. So, yeah. Here's hoping that if they do decide to make sequels for it, that they are able to really fix it and improve it, because their first go around, while it was all right, there are things it could have done differently, and thus it could. Why did he tried to push him just now? Did you see that? Anyway, this is how it's going to end with Ezio in the hay here. And I will see you guys next time.